Good morning for those in the Four Corners region, and good afternoon to our colleagues on the East Coast. My name is Kevin John from Los Alamos National Laboratory. We are connecting today as part of our multi-year regional efforts through the Energy Communities Interagency Working Group and their Four Corners Rapid Response Team, for which I lead. As part of our rapid response team focus, we've assembled a team of 48C advanced energy tax credit experts, specifically today for Four Corners region leaders. And we've timed this meeting to address any last minute questions for the 48C round 2 process. And my understanding is the portal just went live earlier today. We'll have time at the end of presentations for questions. We encourage you to enter questions using either the Q&A tab or raise your hand feature when prompted. We're recording today's meeting to make it available afterwards for reference for you to share with your colleagues that weren't able to join today. And with all of that preamble, it is my pleasure to turn it over now to Briggs White, who serves as the Deputy Director for the Interagency Working Group on coal and plant communities, as well as economic revitalization. Take it away, Briggs.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for your leadership and your team's activities and hosting this 48C webinar here today. And also thank you, DOE, for sponsoring the Four Corners Rapid Response Team. Without that support, we would not have direct engagement. And then finally, a thank you to all of our partners in the field and communities, workers, and other entities in the Four Corners. If we haven't heard from you already, thanks for joining this webinar, and please do reach out. I want to just make a few scene-setting comments. One is that we have partnered with DOE's Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains, or MESC, the U.S. Treasury, and IRS around the 48C tax credit. And I want to just take a minute to explain why. First and foremost, this tax credit offers the opportunity to create really high-paying jobs and community benefits. And thanks to Congress, there is a $4 billion set aside within the overall $10 billion allocation for communities that have lost a coal mine or a coal plant per the statutory language. And so we know that there are going to be projects that will benefit from a 48C investment tax credit that will be in energy communities. In fact, today's presentation will focus on round 2. But in the previous round 1, there was actually $1.5 billion worth of projects selected towards getting ultimately a tax allocation. Add to that the private sector investment because that's only 30% tax credit. So there's a 70% private sector investment on top of that. That's a lot of projects, and ultimately will generate a lot of jobs and community benefits in coal communities. So we know that the Four Corners region has been impacted due to closures, such as the NGS closure on Arizona, in Farmington with the San Juan Generating Station, and others. And so hopefully this is an opportunity to create some economic development and while supporting our domestic supply chain in the clean energy area, as well as industrial decarbonization. We also recognize that manufacturing and industrial decarbonization projects might not be a great fit everywhere, and that's okay. And if you have other interests, please reach out, and we're happy to talk to you about those as well. With that, I just want to quickly make a few comments about what's eligible. So if there are manufacturers really of any sizes that are in the clean energy space, including critical minerals and clean energy manufacturing and recycling, those are eligible within the 48C tax credit, as well as decarbonizing industry. And then finally, I want to thank our MESC colleagues for providing a more detailed update here. They just did a webinar, so you can refer to that and we can make sure you have a copy of the recording. But I want to welcome Sarma Kovali from DOE's Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains, just to double click and go a little bit deeper on sort of what's the latest on 48C. So over to you, Sarma.
Thanks, Briggs, and Kevin, for this opportunity and kind of talk through some of the details of the 48C tax credit program. Like Briggs mentioned, there are mainly three categories of projects: the clean energy manufacturing, recycling, critical materials, and industrial decarb. We'll go into the details, but the key messages which I want to re-emphasize what Briggs laid out is there is at least a 40% of the total allocations, at least $4 billion will be allocated to projects in the 48C energy communities. So that is one important aspect. And the second one is the tax rates only is 30% and 70% investment is from the private sector, creating local jobs and apprenticeship requirements which must be met to receive the 30% tax credit. Okay. We had a webinar on May 16th. The slides and the recordings are available on the 48C landing page. The links are provided at the end. So the slides we are going to present is a subset of that, and all the notices and disclaimers that we laid out in that webinar apply here also. So namely, it's not required to attend a webinar to apply for 48C program and be considered. This is very voluntary, just our effort to make the 48C program available and make everybody aware of the details and the guidance documents which we issued for round 2 on April 29th. That has all the details that are relevant for applying for round 2. And we'll go through some of the timelines. If I can go to the next page. Like I mentioned, we issued the round 2 guidance on April 29th, and we held a webinar last week. And as of today morning, the 48C portal is open for people to submit concept papers. And we have 30 calendar days before the portal closes for the concept paper submissions. That is June 21st, 5 p.m. That's the deadline for submitting concept papers. A concept paper must be submitted for anybody, for any project, for them to be eligible to submit full application. So this is the first step of the 2-step process. And if people don't submit a concept paper, they would not be able to submit a full application. And after the concept paper submission deadline, we will conduct merit reviews on the concept papers, and we provide encourage, discourage notification to all the applicants. Those notifications are non-binding in the sense, even if the concept paper is discouraged, one can still submit a full application, and we will consider and review it as per the merit review criteria. We expect the full application process to be somewhere in the summer-fall time frame, and then we will conduct the merit reviews on the submitted full applications and make recommendations to IRS, and IRS will make the allocation decisions to the applicants no later than January 15th of next year. If I can go to the next page. At a high level, we similar to round 1, we identified priority areas. This is in the clean energy manufacturing and recycling category. We identified priorities for round two. They are very similar to round one, with clean energy, clean hydrogen, electric grid, heat pumps, electric vehicles, nuclear, solar, sustainable aviation fuels, wind energy. One additional category that is made eligible in round two is the low carbon energy intensive materials. Okay. So for all these, again, strongly encourage everybody to read the guidance 2024-36 for a complete list of round two program priorities and what makes a particular project eligible under the clean energy manufacturing or critical materials section or the industrial decarbonization. If I can go to the next page. Okay. So now I mentioned earlier, and Briggs also mentioned that by statute, out of the $10 billion of investment tax credits available under 48C, at least $4 billion must be allocated to projects in the 48C energy communities if meritorious applications are found. One thing we noticed in round one is there is some confusion on the definition of 48C energy community, which is slightly different from other forms of energy communities definitions that are out there. For 48C energy communities, the census tracts which with the coal mines that have closed since December 31st of 99 are census tracts with coal power plants that have closed since December 31st, 2009, and the census tracts immediately adjacent to either of the above. So that is the statutory definition of 48C energy communities. Appendix C of the round two notice 2024-36. It provides the list of the census tracts that are eligible to be considered for 48C as energy communities, and that is the sole means to kind of define. IWG Briggs team and others, they have done a lot of great work in kind of identifying and helping and developing tools to the communities to determine whether a particular census tract falls under the 48C energy community or not. That is what you're seeing on the map on the right. You see two colors in round one, that is the 2023 48C census tracts. Those are in the blue. You can click on the map and be able to, and if you provide the address, you will be able to find out if that particular census tract is part of the energy community, 48C energy community. Treasury since then have updated the energy census tracts. That's what you're seeing in the orange. Those are the added 2024 energy census tracts that are eligible for 48C. There are about 130 of them that fall into that category, and that tool is available for everybody to make a preliminary assessment whether a particular project location falls under energy 48C energy census tracts. If I can go to the next slide. We talked about the eligibility. The next 2-3 slides, I'll talk very briefly on what is eligible under 48C, and again the guidance documents are I strongly encourage everybody to kind of refer to the guidance documents and understand whether a particular project proposed is eligible under 48C. The first category, clean energy manufacturing and recycling projects, the eligible facilities are that manufacture or recycle an eligible product. That will and we under the clean energy manufacturing there are there are 9 or 10 different categories, whether it is zero carbon electricity or grade and all those categories. That's how they're eligibility. But the products which are not eligible, the projects which are not eligible are that produce an ineligible product, including facilities that produce fuels or chemicals. It got to be making some of the equipment that goes into the production of these fuels and chemicals. That's the definition of eligibility. Okay. And the second category, which is not eligible, is the facilities that are deploying rather than manufacture or recycle the eligible product. Again, going back to the same thing, the eligible facility is the one which is making the components of the equipment that then goes into the production of a final product. Okay. And the next slide. Same thing on the critical materials projects that process and refine raw materials and recycle end of life products and the waste streams and other source materials into critical materials. So those are the eligible projects under the 48C. Mining or extraction projects of critical materials, they are not eligible. The mining is the extraction step is excluded from 48C, the eligibility scope. Same thing, manufacturing of derivative products using the critical materials as inputs. Those projects are not eligible under the critical materials category, but they may qualify under clean energy manufacturing and recycling project category. If I can go to the next slide. The industrial decarbonization projects, in round one, these were called greenhouse gas emissions reduction projects. The eligible projects must include installation of equipment specifically designed to reduce the GHG emissions by at least 20%. These projects that involve retrofitting an industrial or manufacturing facility to be eligible. But the projects that are expanding a facility to increase the manufacturing capacity, those are not eligible under this category. And for if a project that is being proposed for consideration, if it includes the eligible costs and also some of the additional project scope includes the costs that are not eligible during the proposal, the concept paper and full application phase, they must be the ineligible cost must be excluded from the qualified investment that is requested from IRS. Okay. If I can go to the next page. Okay. Now, like Briggs mentioned, and I think even Kevin was mentioning, the 48C portal is open from today to receive the concept papers with a 30-day window before it closes on June 21st. And this is the 1 month period where they have to be submitted. Similar to round one, we are following a 2-stage application process. The first stage is the column you're seeing, concept paper. Second stage is the full application stage, and then the other stages follow after the IRS allocation decisions are made. If we focus on the concept paper stage, the first, like we said, all interested applicants must submit a concept paper detailing the project. For round two, we streamlined the concept paper template and the data sheets to make it easier and hopefully clearer to all the applicants to submit the concept papers describing their project and how it fits into domestic manufacturing and the energy supply chains. And after those submissions are available, we will conduct the merit review of the concept papers. And after the merit review consolidation and looking at the whole portfolio, the applicants will receive an encourage or discourage letter from DOE. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the encourage and discourage letters are to indicate the programmatic interest in a particular concept paper scope and definitions and details, and and they are non-binding. So all the concept paper applicants, they can still submit full application if they choose to do so. So that gets into the application stage, approximately 35 pages of the application. Again, going into more details on the project scope and the definitions, and also along the 4 merit review criteria, how the given project would meet those merit review criteria and strengthen the domestic supply chains and manufacturing in these 3 categories. We will do the same merit review process as somewhat similar to the concept paper stage. We consolidate all the feedback from independent merit reviewers, and we will DOE makes a recommendation on whether a given application should be allocated or denied, and DOE will make the final determination and let the applicants know of their decision whether a particular project is allocated 48C tax credits or denied. In the interest of time, I will not go into the details of what happens after the allocation decision is made. But at a high level, we kind of skim through on the first page. All the projects under the 48C tax credits, they must be placed in service within 4 years, with an intermediate step of certifying the projects within 2 years from the time of allocation. And only on the allocated projects which are placed in service within that 4-year window are the ones which will receive the tax credit in the year the project is placed in service. So the upfront capital is borne by the applicant, and it should be placed in service within the time frame the statute requires. Okay, next page, please. I mentioned this, so we kind of tried to streamline the concept paper submissions for round 2 based on the feedback we received in round 1, and also the updated guidance. There is one PDF template based on the project type and an Excel data sheet with information specific to the relevant project types. These templates are available on the 48C portal and also on the 48C landing page, so that the applicants can download and put the content together before the submission deadline. Next page, please. General themes on how to develop a strong concept paper without going into the details item by item. The strong concept paper would have sufficient detail on a eligible project, and make sure and that kind of separates what is eligible under the 48C in terms of investment, and what is a separate investment for the total facility, and it meets the required timelines. So for the certification, that is with the required permits and ready to start the construction, and with an additional 2 years to complete the construction and be placed in service. So a good narrative on these elements describing the project scope and how it will be filled. These requirements would make it a strong concept paper. And then on the right side panel, here are the merit review criteria. Again, this is a Cliff Note version, and all the applicants should read and understand the details that are in the guidance document. In terms of the commercial viability, these are the 4 merit review criteria that all concept papers will be evaluated against. The first one is the commercial viability. Second one is how are the projects reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, and how the projects are going to strengthen the US supply chains and domestic manufacturing needs. And last but not least, how are these projects going to benefit the workforce and meet the prevailing wages and apprenticeship requirements, and also a proposed completed community engagement for the project to make these projects successful and result in high-paying jobs, quality jobs in the communities we are trying to help with these manufacturing projects. In round 1 for the concept papers, we published a document that summarized some of the common themes we identified based on the round 1 concept papers. That is a good document. Again, it was focused on round 1, but that's a good document to kind of help people kind of understand what makes a strong concept paper, how to look at the eligibility, and how to put together a strong commercially viable beneficial manufacturing project under any of these 3 categories. If I can go to the next slide. Okay. We talked about the merit review, all the 4 merit review criteria, all the concept papers are going to be evaluated against for clean energy manufacturing and recycling projects or the critical materials projects. You can see the section 2.7.1 in the guidance, and for industrial decarbonization projects, section 2.7.2. But at a high level, the 4 merit review criteria in the guidance, you have the additional details, and please pay close attention to the merit review criteria and the sub criteria in putting together a strong concept paper, and then it translates to a strong application. Next page, please. For the next couple of slides, I will focus on the workforce and community engagement. What makes a strong concept paper, strong application in terms of workforce and community. Again, needless to say, a strong workforce and community engagement at every part of every stage of the project, right from the initial phases. It reduces the project risk and delays due to community or labor opposition, and they reduce the health and safety risk to the workers and communities. So overall, they would improve the success rate of these projects. In addition, the good workforce and community engagement plan, it increases the participation of the stakeholders in decision making, and provides an opportunity for two-way communication and increases the accountability to the affected workers and communities, and broadly share prosperity from all these projects. Next page, please. Some of these examples of a good workforce and community engagement commitment, what that can go into a concept paper, and like I said later in a full application, it should have sufficient detail that is specific and actionable commitments Again, fully understand that at the concept paper submission stage, some of these could be plans, or some of them are in progress. And some maybe they are already a completed and existing commitment, but whatever it is, we should that should be mentioned clearly. That way, it helps in the merit review process and understanding the scope of these projects in terms of the effective workforce and community engagement. Some of the examples: a commitment to negotiate project labor agreements, or honoring existing collective bargaining agreements at the facilities that are being retrofitted, or identifying and working with local unions to employ workers with the skills required from dislocated from fossil fuel energy or manufacturing facilities. Identification of benefits that are provided to the stakeholders, affected stakeholders and local communities, and those are some of the things that could help in articulating a good workforce and community engagement section of a concept paper. That will be that is one of the 4 merit review criteria, like I mentioned earlier, and we will take a look at all these merit review criteria as part of our merit review process, and apply the program policy factors in coming up with a portfolio of projects that we would encourage at the concept paper stage, and that logic progresses to the full application stage towards the allocation recommendations. If I can go to the next page. Okay, some of these links, whether it's a 48C portal, or if you have any question, you can always send an email to 48C questions mailbox. If it's a tax related question, please you can look at the IRS website for the frequently asked questions. And for all applicants in round 2, they will be applying on the 48C portal, which requires registering with ID.me to be able to access the portal and be able to submit. Okay, so that is the summary of on the 48C. Again, I want to thank all of you for interest in participating in 48C program and submit quality applications. We're looking forward to receiving as many as we can. We would like to kind of again thank you all for your time and your interest. Katie, I think that this is the last slide.
All right, and with that, thank you, Sarma, for walking us through that. And for our audience, we're going to have time for some Q&A here in a minute. So again, thanks to Mass Treasury and IRS for their collaboration in bringing 48C to the Four Corners region. I just want to close out by reinforcing a couple of things that Sarma went over. The first one is a call to action for communities to get a seat at the table. If you're interested in hosting a project, or you are aware that a project is occurring in your community, have your voice heard in the process, get in on the ground floor, as it were, and make your views known. This is a great time to do that. Also, if you're interested in hosting a project, we know that these projects are going to create jobs and tax revenue, and a lot of communities are looking for that to help offset declines due to the loss of coal-related employment. Raise your hand if you're interested in hosting a project. And then finally, all applicants will have to demonstrate per criterion 4 that was discussed what will be the benefits to local workers, to the energy transition context, to communities that are adjacent and proximate to where projects are occurring. So, the more that partnerships can occur now, ahead of the concept paper writing phase, and of course, ultimately the full application, that will strengthen the narratives under Criterion 4. So, would encourage folks to get together to try to strengthen their commitments as those are being put together. Sarma, did you have a point you wanted to make?
Okay, can I just interrupt? I wanted to
Sure.
introduce Dusty Burns to the audience. Dusty Burns, we are on the same team working on the 48C program from MESC. And unfortunately, I need to sign off to attend a different meeting. Dusty and Briggs, they will be available to field any questions and related to the 48C. Any question we can answer, and the questions which we cannot answer or which we captured, we captured a few of them from the webinar, and we will post all of them together on the as part of the FAQs to benefit the larger communities.
Thanks, Sarma, for being with us.
Yeah.
And welcome, Dusty. And just one final point I wanted to make was that the 48C tax credit is eligible for elective pay or direct pay. Elective pay, particularly wanted to lift up in the Four Corners region that governmental entities such as tribal governments are eligible for direct pay. And so that means that rather than filling out a tax form and getting a tax credit, they can get a direct payment in lieu of that tax credit. And more generally, beyond the 48C context, there's a variety of other tax credits, including things like clean energy and solar deployment that we know that a number of entities in the Four Corners region might be interested in, and they can don't have to compete it's not like a grant, but can get just a direct payment as either an investment tax credit or a production tax credit. So would encourage folks to look into direct pay and also in my virtual background, we have energycommunities.gov where there's a lot of resources, and wanted to flag that the map with the 48C coal closures is available there. In addition, you also have the MESC landing page for 48C, and then of course the IRS and Treasury guidance available to you. So just a couple of reminders of resources. And with that, why don't we open up the Q&A and just use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen, and we've got a bit of time to answer questions. Dusty and Kevin and I are available and ready to help.
Looks like Chris Pastors has his hand up.
Hey, Chris, welcome. How can we help you?
Thank you. This is Chris Pastors. I represent Apache and Navajo County in economic development. Thank you for putting this on with the Four Corners in mind. My question has to do with concept papers. If the data sheet has the details, do we need to restate it in the narrative of the concept paper narrative? Are these going to be viewed together, or do we need to restate things like job numbers? I know it's in the data sheet, but are these going to be viewed together? Because there's limited characters in the narrative template. The reason I'm asking is, how do we make sure what we have in there is what you guys are expecting? Are you expecting to see it stated twice, once in the data sheet and once in the narrative?
Be viewed together. It's up to you how you want to present the information.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dusty. All right. I've got some other questions, but I'll let some other folks hop in there. I know time is short. Thank you.
And I believe we had a question from Pam Eaton in the chat. Is the information about criterion 4 submitted on a separate form/paper from the concept paper?
It's captured in the PDF. It's all in one form. Criterion 4 is included with the rest of them.
Looks like Chris may have his hand up again. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Dusty. This question might be for you. It has to do with criterion 2, the greenhouse gas emissions. I was hoping to get a little bit more clarification on during the concept paper phase or the concept paper portion. Are we going to be needing to justify the greenhouse gas emission reduction using the EPA tool, or what level are we expected at the concept paper? I understand it's clear at the application level, but what would you suggest? Is there any examples you can give of how successful applicants have submitted their information for criterion 2, the greenhouse gas reduction criterion?
Yeah, there's no examples I can give for that. The best I can say is just to read the notice on that and apply and answer the information in the notice the best you can for the concept paper.
Okay, thank you.
It's
Okay, do we have any other questions? Chris, we'll come back to you.
Whenever you're ready to come back to me. Thank you.
Go for it.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, folks. So my last question is, what is going to likely be the process after allocations have made, but projects do not get certified? What is going to happen with that surplus? Or what would you think is, or how are you going to avoid that allocations are made and then the certifications don't meet all those allocations? Or is this just going to be round 1, round 2 and done? Or what are you thinking or planning for if certifications are not met and there's remaining funds under the 48C?
answer that one through an FAQ for you, and we'll post that.
Okay, so Dusty, you said you'll answer that through an FAQ.
Yes.
Thank you, Dusty.
And perhaps I'll ask a follow-on question. If sort of current allocation isn't expended in round 2, is there a possibility of a round 3 in terms of maybe something focused specifically on energy communities?
I'd also say we'd have to answer that one, John, through an FAQ. I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
Thank you. So Dusty, this might be another FAQ too. My question is, in terms of, is there a mechanism for connecting energy communities with projects that are seeking energy communities? I know Briggs White, he said, hey, raise your hand if you're interested in hosting projects in your energy communities. We certainly are. We're certainly ready. We have the entire community engaged with that. But when it comes to connecting with those projects that are looking for willing communities, is there any mechanism available for helping to make or to do that matchmaking.
So Dusty, I don't believe that there is specifically associated with 48C. But Chris, that's a great question, and we've received that recommendation, and it's certainly being discussed internally. But Dustin, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there is currently a mechanism.
There's not currently through 48C, no.
But Chris, thank you for your efforts to and willingness to host a project. That's great.
Any final questions from the attendees? I see we have Preston from Apache County and John from Coconino County. All right, hearing
Okay.
or go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm not seeing any other questions, but want to thank everyone so much for joining today. And we will make the recording and the slides available to everyone. So please feel free to pass along to any colleagues who were not able to join us today. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.